Before the video starts, I want to share a giveaway with you guys that Kingwin and I are doing. It's easy and free to enter, and you might win a game or even a voucher to use on their website. I'll put a link in the description for the giveaway. Highly recommend checking it out. Good luck. Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new League of Legends video. So a lot of people have been asking me to finally share the 3 Yasuo builds that I've always been talking about mainly in my stream. And this video is going to be doing just that. Now the 3 different builds with Yasuo are just completely dependent on what you are trying to achieve as the Yasuo player. One of the builds is, I would say, drastically different than the other 2. But before I go into the builds, I want to quickly remind you guys that these builds are just my suggestions. For all I know, I could be 100% wrong or I could be 100% correct. So I want you guys to kind of look at this video and get an idea and maybe change it around a bit here or there based on how you would maybe prefer it. The great thing about Yasuo is that you can change so many things, whether it's items, runes, or even masteries, and it'll still probably work to a certain extent. A nice little saying I made up myself that I want to share with you guys is that all I'm doing is providing you guys the frame for the painting that you must paint. So with all that stuff out of the way, let's go into the builds. The 3 builds I will be mentioning in this video I titled Assassin Yasuo, Duelist Yasuo, and Brawler Yasuo. So out of the 3 builds, the first one I will be talking about is not only Assassin Yasuo, but this build is the one that I personally use almost every single game. So here's a very quick summary of the differences between the 3 builds. Assassin Yasuo is focusing on getting the 100% crit chance and just going for the raw damage, while being somewhat squishy. Duelist Yasuo is kind of self-explanatory. You're going for the 1v1 scenario and you're going to be building around that as well, while easily being able to stick to a target. Brawler Yasuo is more on the tanky side, but still dealing pretty decent damage. So let's get into Assassin Yasuo and start things off with the mastery page because it stays the same for me for all 3 builds. The only change might be removing the point from Frenzy. But where things get really crazy is the rune page. You might want to have a pen and paper beside you because this rune page is very specific. Taking a look at the right hand column, you can see I have 10% crit chance and exactly that. This is because with Yasuo's passive I'll have 20% crit chance at level 1, and with Static Shiv and IE, that gives me the other 80%, thus giving me a total of 100% crit chance. So here's exactly how I have the runes laid out. I'm not gonna actually say every single rune, but you see the list on the left side of your screen right now, so I recommend maybe pausing the video or something of the sort. But this is the rune page that I use for Assassin Yasuo, again, to get the 100% crit chance. But feel free to change it up as you wish. Following this, let's go into the items. This really shouldn't be anything out of the ordinary, especially if you play Yasuo quite a bit. So you can start either a longsword in 3 pots or a Doran's blade in 1 pot. I personally recommend at the moment the Doran's blade. You want to get the Static Shiv as soon as possible and then rush the IE right after, and then get the Berserker boots because again this build doesn't have a lot of built-in attack speed, not from the runes, not from the items. So the Berserker boots help a lot. After the first 3 very core items, I like to personally get the Bloodthirster and then maybe a Last Whisper or a Trinity Force. Again, change it around as you wish. It's really good to experiment to see what works better for you. Don't forget, this might work for me, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it'll work for you. Next, let's talk about the Duelist Yasuo. For this one, I'll use the same mastery page as before, but the rune page on the other hand is completely different. So these next 2 builds are not focusing on getting 100% crit chance, so we don't go as ham in our rune page to get that 100% crit chance, or in that case 10% from the rune page. So with that being said, we put a lot more attack speed in our rune page because as you know, Yasuo's Q only goes down in cooldown by the attack speed, not the level of your Q and not the amount of CDR that you have. So here's another list of the exact runes that I'm running for this page. Again, I'm not going to be going through every single rune that I'm running, but this one is focusing more on the attack speed and dueling path of Yasuo. And you're going to see we don't get Berserker boots in this build. Now let's go into the item build and you're going to see it is not completely different than the Assassin Yasuo, but the main difference is the fact that you get the Blade of the Rune King and you get it much sooner, while delaying the time that you get Infinity Edge. Blade of the Rune King, in my opinion, is one of the best items a dueler can ask for. And with Yasuo, not only will the active effect help, but the amount of times you'll be proccing the passive effect of Blade of the Rune King, the percent damage, and the lifesteal is going to be so beneficial. And of course, the attack speed from your Blade of the Rune King and your runes will get your Q to the minimum cooldown possible very fast. We don't get Berserker boots here because you simply just do not need it. You have enough attack speed from your Blade of the Rune King, your Static Shiv, and your runes. So I threw in Merc boots because in my my opinion, you can never go wrong with these boots, but you want to get the boots that are better for a situation. I think the rest of the items in this build are pretty self-explanatory. You can always throw in a Triforce at the very end if you so wish. Let's talk about the final build of the video, Brawler Yasuo. Personally, I rarely play this build, but I actually faced a Yasuo that did this build and it worked quite well. His damage output was nothing to laugh at, and he was also very tanky. The rune page that I would run for Brawler Yasuo is the exact same one I would run for Duelist Yasuo. And here it is one more time in case you missed it or you want to refresh your mind. But the main thing to talk about here are going to be the items. So just like every other build, you want to start off with the static shiv because it's just such a good item on Yasuo and it synergizes with his kit so well. But the second item you're going to get is Triforce. Now you're going to be recognizing this build to be very similar to many top lane champions, for instance an Aurelia, maybe a Nasus, maybe even a Jax. And the Triforce is going to be your main form of damage output and you're going to just simply rely on it. Following the Triforce, you'll just get tanky items. You might want to get a Vampiric Scepter for the extra lifesteal because you might need it, and then late game just build it into a Blade of the Rune King or a BT. But until that point, after the Triforce and your Merc Boots or whatever the case may be, you want to just get pure tank items, for instance a Sunfire, a Guardian's Angel, a Randuin's Omen, maybe even a Spirit Visage. Again, it all depends on the enemy team. What do they have more of? Do they have a lot of AD? Do they have a lot of AP? Maybe they have a lot of mixed damage. You have to itemize based on the enemy team when you're talking about defensive stats. But I really recommend playing around with this build. For instance, maybe you want to throw in a bit more lifesteal in your rune page so that you can skip the Vampiric Scepter altogether. Play around with it and maybe find out the one that works for you. But that is it for this video, guys. I hope you have enjoyed it and learned something new. If you did, definitely throw in a like, share it with your friends, and also don't forget to check out the Kinguin giveaway. Once again, a link will be in the description. I also highly recommend checking out my other videos. If you like this one, I'm sure you'll like them as well. But don't forget to hit the like button, and I hope to see you guys for the next video. Peace.
We'll be right back.